What is up, boys and girls? So today I'm going to talk a little bit about my Witch Doctor support character. A lot of people have been asking questions about this character because it is kind of unusual. This is something that was very popular in Season 3, I believe. I'm kind of a Diablo noob, so keep that in mind. The character might not be fully optimized, and there are definitely things that I'm going to be changing in the future. But yeah, this is something similar to Season 3, but a lot of people told me that it's completely dead. I did not play the PTR, I did not check anything out. So I didn't know, and once we started running higher rifts. You can see this is a greater rift 60, which is not high, but it is 3 days into the new season, so I think it's working out pretty great. It's great for farming paragons, and that's about it, really. So you can see something unusual. We don't use Spirit Walk, which is a little bit different, and in general I'm gonna be explaining a little bit more in just a second. I wanted to show you a little bit of footage because yeah, it plays pretty much very differently to any Witch Doctor that's being played right now, and as I said before, it's primarily for Paragon farming because it does use EXP gear, and that's like a major point of this. But we generally double the damage of our party members, and then yeah, the EXP gear kicks in. You can see that we're running a double barb setup, which isn't that great in my opinion. We'll be definitely switching it up in the future, but the monk is pretty important. And you can see I don't use the fetish passive or transcendence, which I will be... Well, I can explain it now. It's basically because if you play with a monk, it makes it a lot more difficult to pull mobs. If you are in a situation where you want to pull in more mobs, your fetishes are just gonna mess everything up. And the only way to fix that is by running really far away so they teleport with you. Like this, I can always resummon my zombie dogs or resummon my fetishes. And as you can see, the Big Bad Voodoo is up pretty much on every pack, so it doesn't matter that much. We try and use a lot of cooldown reduction for the Jinx and for the Piranhas because, yeah, we use a two-piece Helltooth set, so that boosts up the damage, and the only way for us to activate that is through Piranhas, and it's really important. But yeah, you can see some of the footage. I'll maybe link the VOD in the description because it has been a long VOD, and I'll try and explain a little bit more about my skills. So you can see we use Fetish Army with Legion of Daggers. Basic stuff. I don't think you can use anything else. I've seen some people use Sticky Tortures in the past, but yeah, that really, it's up to you. The unusual thing, we don't use Spirit Walk. We use Hex with Jinx, which boosts up the party damage by about 30%, which is incredibly important. It actually, you can have it up 24/7. There are so diminishing returns on it, so keep that in mind. You can't always have like rares and elites and all that hexed, but for the most part you can. So yeah, it definitely was a big game changer. I'd say this is the most unusual thing compared to the other patches. Big Bad Voodoo, Slam Dance, you can see that we are using the Fetish Army and this, so this is a SMK build. However, we don't use an SMK, we cube it. Summon Zombie Dogs with Chill to the Bone, more party damage increase. Hunt with Poison Spirit, more party damage increase. And then Piranhas with Piranado. And for the gear, we use a Leoric's Crown. You have to use the crown. Try and focus on stuff like Dexterity and Vitality and Armor. These are your primary defenses. I mean, Dexterity or Strength if you're playing with the people, like with other classes. Try and not go for the int stuff because you're gonna have enough int anyway, and like armor generally is better than resists, right? So you have to use a Leoric's Crown. I'm using Zephyrian Amulet. Try and go for whatever you want. If you can get a proper Hellfire Amulet, maybe you can work in another passive into this. Actually, I didn't talk about my passives, but yeah, we use... Maybe let's go from this side because the Spirit Vessel is kind of tricky. We use Bad Medicine for reducing the party damage taken. Grave Injustice for reduction of cooldowns, and we do have a little bit of a mana problem because Haunt is draining our mana a lot, and we want to have everything haunted. That's also the reason why we don't use a Belt of Transcendence. We instead use a Haunting Girdle, but this is kind of up to you. Because, like I said, it's very hard to pull mobs with the other belt, and this belt makes it so that we have a lot more casts and pretty much everything is haunted, right? But maybe if you're getting just started and you don't have that pulling force, you know, with some good monk players or whatever, you might want to look into using a Belcher Transcendence. But alright. So on Planet Attunement, I mean, our best defensive passive, and then Spirit Vessel. This is somewhat questionable, in my opinion. I like it because, you know, if I get stuck or something, again, we don't have Spirit Walk. If I get stuck or something, I can, you know, this pops, and I can make it through the pack without dying, which is very important. And in general, I can make my character risk a little bit more with really not too many diminishing, like, things to it. There's really nothing else that we can get. I mean, we can go for some mana, we can go for like Jungle Fortitude, maybe Blood Ritual, but this is something that I would recommend getting on the Amulet, if anything. And again, we don't use the Fetish Sycophants, so that's the explanation for that. So let's get into it. We use a 2-piece Born set. Well, we use 2 pieces of the Born set, but we do use the Ring of Royal Grandeur on the cube. So it's a 3-piece, right? So here we go, Born here and Born here. I should, in generally, yeah, I mean, I would recommend Intelligence, Vitality, Life. I mean, if you can roll the Intelligence into maybe Armor, maybe that would work. I'm actually not sure. I haven't done testing when it comes to that, and like I did say, I'm kind of a noob. But this gear will be pretty bad because I'm just getting started with the build. And then the Born is Vitality. I tried to reroll on my other piece, I tried to reroll the damage. It's very hard to reroll the damage, so if you have a lot of currency, try and do it. If you don't, it might be a little bit risky. I went for the life per hit and the cooldown reduction, which is very, very important, and it also has EXP grant, so yeah, there you go. But if you have these stats primarily, then you can try and reroll the holy damage into, I don't know, something else. Whatever is defensive. We use 2-piece Helltooth, so shoulders and then boots. This grants us a slow and 20% increased damage pretty much whenever our zombie dogs hit or Puranados hit. We hit a lot with our Puranado because we also cube the Grin Reaper piece. Since this is all tied up into the cube, I'll just make it a little bit more obvious what exactly we're doing, right? We're using SMK, Green Reaper, Ring of Royal Grandeur. So yeah, we get the 2-piece. You can't use the Ring of Royal Grandeur in a way that when you have 1 piece and you equip the ring, you have a 2-piece. It doesn't work like that, so we have to have the 2-piece. And so yeah, this is just another damage increaser, you know, focus on, again, strength of dexterity, vitality, armor, cooldown reduction, and that's really about it. And same for this thing. You don't really need the movement speed because it's more optimal to get it from Paragon Revels. So I opted in to go for the regeneration because we do use a Molten Wildebeest Gizzard. So there's that. Alright, more pieces are the Cane set for even more whatever it's called, bonus experience, right? So we use the gloves and we use the pants. Again, when crafting, try and focus on cooldown reduction, vitality, intelligence, armor, all the same things, and as on the other pieces, you can see that they're really not too optimized. Oh yeah, and something that I didn't explain about the Leoric Crown. Basically, the way the Leoric Crown works is increase the effect of the gem socketed into this item by 97%. So it doubles the experience bonus that we receive from the socket in the helmet. The ring is a Hellfire ring. We use this primarily because they increase bonus experience by 45%. You need to have a socket in it, and you can put in one of the 3 gems into it. So either a rank 25 gem of Toxin, this increases the damage that our party deals to the mobs by another 10%. You can put in a Molten Gizzard in it, which regenerates a lot of life once you rank it up, and also it gives us a shield if we're not taking damage for 4 seconds, which is incredibly important for survivability, generally speaking. We also run a monk setup, like I said in the past, so regeneration is pretty, I mean, it's really helpful because we run a lot of regeneration, and that way we can stay alive even with not using Spirit Walk. We can just always be in there and it's gonna be no problem. And then the last thing is Esoteric Alteration, which reduces the non-physical damage, and then when we drop below 75%, it reduces it even further. But yeah, Hellfire Ring is a must-have if you're trying to support your group. Then the other thing is a Leoric Signet. That also gives us bonus experience. Same things as before, dexterity, vitality, cooldown reduction, you know, defensive stats as much as possible. And then the last thing is the Storm Shield. My Storm Shield is kind of garbage right now, but yeah, it reduces the melee attack damage, range attack damage, you know, I have some cooldown reduction on it. It's very, very important stuff, and it also looks hella sick with the Lilith's Wool thing. So the way I think you would wanna, well, it depends. Like when you start off a Witch Doctor, you wanna go for the Grim Reaper anyway. But if you have a proper group and you're looking to far greater rifts, I'd probably make this as your first or second build. And yeah, just try and focus on the EXP stuff. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about the bracers. We use strong arm braces. I have a really crappy roll, but it's generally defensive stats, and then also enemies hit by knockback suffer 20% more damage for 5 seconds when they land. So again, this is Piranato and Grim Reaper really kicking in because they're dropping, yeah, we're constantly knocking back and it's constantly triggering the Helltooth and yada yada yada. But you'll be casting Haunt a lot, and that's another thing that I didn't explain. No, I think I talked about this. I mean, we use a Haunting Girdle, releases 2 spirits, that's pretty much it. We don't want to, if you're just starting off, like I said before, you might want to use a build of Transcendence, but that's completely up to you. I think that's about it. I mean, 12 minutes, goddamn. What do you know? If you have any suggestions, feel free to post them. Like I said, I am kind of a D3 noob. I started off 3 days ago pretty much, so I'm still learning stuff. I'm still trying to figure out some things. And yeah, don't be too harsh on me. But I think that's generally it. I was surprised that this was so overlooked by the D3 community. In my opinion, doubling up the damage and the EXP is best for farming right now. There's very few classes that can do something similar. We don't grant a lot of defensive things, even though we've got the fetishes and we reduce the damage by a little bit with bad medicine. But if you're running a monk, I mean, we're pretty much indestructible, they're indestructible, everyone's happy, and you can easily stroll through, you know, Greater Rift 60 with pretty crazy EXP gain, you know. Currently, I don't quite remember how much we were getting, but it was like, I don't know, we were getting like 15 bill per rift, and each rift would take, I'd say, like an average of 7 minutes, right? So, it's pretty significant EXP increase. But yeah, again, if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully, we're gonna maybe post an update video on this if we actually figure some new things out. But thank you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.